Billabong did this surf competition. They used to do a surf comp called the Billabong Pro, and they'd go around the world and just like take a bunch of surfers and then surf these breaks and then do a competition at the event, like at the place, and then have a film crew and come out and film it. And it was a bit of a big thing. So then one year they came up there and they did a competition at the break north of us at Nauru. And they brought a few like younger guys up there. You might even know the names. There's like a Kelly Slater, Rob Machado, Sonny, and Oki and a few other lads. So everyone was pretty much grommets then. And they came up and surfed and did this competition. So that was like my first time I was exposed to action sports. And I was just riding around on my dirt bike, and these guys are out there, film crew and surfing and living the dream. And I'm like, I'd love to do that, but I suck at surfing, but I can ride.
You lived in a cave next to a surf spot, but you were still riding your dirt bike and still suck at surfing. It
sounds pretty bad, doesn't it? Like I lived in the cave, like I'm some kind of hobbit.
Hey everyone, I'm Steve Sommerfeld, your host for the Riders Lounge podcast, and I want to jump straight in and say it's party time. Now that I'm hitting basically the last number of what I can call myself in the mid-30s, with my 36th birthday on Friday, I'm now on that slippery slope towards 40 and probably a midlife crisis. So I'm incredibly appreciative for the support of the Rothouse Brewery for helping me celebrate my birthday by giving free giveaways to some lucky listeners of this very podcast as a huge thank you for tuning in and helping grow this little project. And what better way for you guys to join in with me than to celebrate at home with a few special packages that will be shipped out to some very lucky winners, which may or may not include the very best taste testing sample of a Rothaus Tannenzäpfle beer. All the details will be on the Riders Lounge podcast Instagram from Friday, October 30, on how you can enter this fun little competition. Ultimately, it is you guys who have helped this channel grow, and I really can't thank you all enough. And of course, you will enjoy your Tannenzäpfle even more with some buddies, and it would be great if you can tag your friends on Instagram who you think would be both interested in this podcast, but also the friends that you would also want to share a beer with. Maybe you don't have to share the beer, and I completely understand that also, but hey, don't be a Scrooge. Share the love with your friends, and you may win one of these special packs coming out. Remember to check Insta. It's on Friday for all the details. I also want to give a quick shout out to my personal sponsors, Lakes Networking, of course, from Western Australia, who are now working on my new website for this very podcast. And I have to say a huge thanks to Jason and Auntie for helping out on that one. Hopefully it's up very soon and make it easier for you guys to find all the different content from each guest in one simple place. Also, Custom MX, MotorX in Australia, GB Orthopedics as well, DEP Pipes, TCX Boots, and Race FX. I want to thank Night of the Jumps and TIMX for also keeping me pretty damn busy lately. And while the events are still out of action at the moment, at least we've been working our backsides off to get this new esports series up and running. And we're actually finally releasing the first episode this Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central European Time, which is UTC +1 or 1+ on GMT time. We have 16 riders from all around the world who are throwing down their best virtual run on the special Night of the Jumps course, which Aussie Adrenaline have created. It will be the first time you'll see the Night of the Jumps level, and it looks almost as if you're watching the real competition. It's so cool, and I can't wait to release it. It will be judged by you guys at home. The crowd will vote, the winners will go through to the next round of competition, and of course, the grand final. I might also do my own judging since I am an accredited FMX judge, so maybe we'll throw in a special award over the entire competition to the best FMX run. It could be from any week, and I'll decide that, I guess, by the time we get to the grand final. There will also be some prize money thrown in from TIMX just to spice things up a little bit, and also a huge kick-ass trophy. So all you have to do is tune in this Saturday on the Night of the Jumps Facebook page, or their partners like Extreme. They've turned 25 years old, so that's freaking awesome. Extreme been around for so long. Night of the Jumps are 20 years old. Extreme are even older at 25 years. The leaders in extreme sports. They're our social media partner, FC Moto, and a whole bunch more. Now that the formalities are over with, though, let's get them out and they're done and dusted. Let's get into what you're really here to listen to, and that's the next episode with one of the elder statesmen of Australian Freestyle Motocross, and someone who has given a leg up to most of the Western Australian riders and actually a whole bunch of Aussies from all over the country. Fungi, if you remember that name, was actually quite instrumental in keeping one of Australia's biggest competitions alive over in Western Australia in a little town called Narrogin, a couple of hours from Perth. And if I remember correctly, I think I rode 6 of those events, so I picked up the title of the most competitions ridden. I didn't get a big novelty check for it, but it's something. I'm counting it anyway. But it was definitely Fungi who worked with Brad Chitty and the whole Narrogin crew to keep it going for those last couple of years. And I have to say a huge thank you to those guys, as it was something that created buzz, enough buzz in magazines, and it certainly helped a lot of guys who rode that event to pick up other shows and to just further their career. And it definitely worked out for me. So I'm so grateful to have that opportunity. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have guys like Jamie Gregory and Mulks, and actually Fungi himself, who lended me their bikes over in WA. And actually Fungi even just threw me a show as well, just to help pay for the whole trip. And of course, Jason from Lakes Networking, who I mentioned earlier as one of the sponsors and building the website. I always flew into Perth. Jason would pick me up from the airport himself. I would then borrow his ute, pick up a bike from Jamie or Mulks or Fungi, and just drive down to Narrogin. Anyway, getting way off topic here, but basically, I want to come back to Fungi. He was one of the main guys who nurtured this really good atmosphere of great freestyle riders over in WA. They would help out at the drop of a hat. Now Fungi has moved into tattooing, and he's absolutely killing it. I'm a complete clean skin, but if I was to ever get a tattoo, it would be from Fungi. Check out his Instagram for the daily awesomeness of imagery of his creations, and it's simply at Jeremy_Furniss on Instagram, or you can go to his website, which is jeremyfurnisstattoo.com, and I'll put the links in the show notes to make it a lot easier. He's working all across Australia. He's traveling the world, so you might even be in luck wherever you are to catch up with him for your next piece of art. So thank you very much for tuning in. Sorry for the long intro. Let's get this thing started. Jeremy Furniss, Fungi, the fun guy.
The fun guy.
I will probably say Fungi far too many times in this recording, but that's how I knew you in freestyle motocross. But you mentioned in an email that you don't go by that name anymore. What's the go?
Look, I guess I got stuck with that name when I was a kid, and I had that name all the way through my FMX career, and then when I finished up and went on to doing tattooing, I just wanted to distance myself away from that as much as I could, and I dropped it pretty quickly. So yeah, now no one calls me that anymore. It's always Jeremy, and every now and again someone will pop into the studio and they'll be like, "Oh, how you doing, mate? There's Fungi around," and the staff will be like, "Who? What are you talking about?"
Oh, mate, you Fungi. That's all I know. So where did the name come from?
It's the girls at school. Like all nicknames, they start when you're a kid. So the girls at school used to call me Fun Guy. Obviously, they didn't want to hook up with me. They just want to wanted to have fun in other ways. So yeah, fun guy. That's it, and that's how it stuck. And then I think somewhere in the mix, Freerider ran an article, and they spelt it as fungi. And then
And that was it.
that was it. That is stuck there. And I was like, man, I wasn't really proud of it because it kind of makes you think you got something growing on you or something like that. You know, it's like it's not the best nickname, but
No.
that's the cards I got dealt with. So yeah.
Who wrote the story?
Oh, well, probably blame Holtzy, maybe, possibly.
Oh,
Oh,
Holtzy will definitely come up in this interview a few more times, so I'm sure let's just blame Holtzy. So I was going to say, because I remember, I think it was when I was writing for Freerider when Benny Foster was the editor,
yeah.
and every issue that came out of Freerider, he would spell my name wrong in my own column. Every issue. And so I was finishing every issue with my name. I would type my name out at the end of every column. And for sure, they would either do a spell check or he just did it for a laugh and just changed it to Summerfield instead of Summerfeld. I'm like, come on, fuck. So wouldn't surprise me if it was Benny or if it was Holtzy or anyone that buggered up your name. But anyway, Fungi is it, but it's done now. No more freestyle motocross, which sucks, mate.
Yes,
I'm really surprised.
Are you?
But I am, because you're just going along really well with freestyle, and then all of a sudden, I was borrowing your bike to ride shows in WA and riding Narrogin at the probably one of the best competitions in Australia, if not the best competition.
That's be cool. Yeah.
Well, it was the best because I got on a podium there. That's why it was the best.
Oh, well, that always helps. Yeah, that always helps.
Always helps. So, where did you go? What happened? I mean, you were in freestyle motocross near on from the start in Australia.
Yeah. So we'll just jump straight into the end of the career, shall we?
Well, I'm just wondering where you went to, because I'm guessing there's going to be people listening to this podcast going, "Who the hell is Fungi or Jeremy Furniss?" Because I actually was just Googling looking for some photos of you and some videos to chuck up for a little bit of promo on this episode. And mate, Fungi doesn't exist in freestyle motocross on Google because that was a long time before, social media or anything that you were writing. So just a little bit of an intro. Who the hell is Fungi?
Well, I suppose I was based in WA, which is probably the most isolated place to do freestyle motocross. I grew up in Carnarvon for most of it, was where I was riding, so that's even more isolated. And then I don't know, I did my thing, had my fun, and then checked out.
Checked out, man. I suppose it's a good way to go in a sense.
Look, I had a few little things there. Obviously, had some injuries that played in the part. And then I had a combination of things. I had a combination where I shattered my heel, which put me out for a year. And then when I got back into it, I was just living out of a suitcase, as you do, just kind of getting burnt out. I think one time there, I kind of sat down at the end of the year. My partner at the time, she wasn't too pleased. We went through the diary and we're like, oh, out of this 12 months, you've been home for like 2 months. And I'm like, yeah, I'm burning out. The love wasn't there. And then I actually got a thing called, I've really heard of Ross River virus. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I picked that up somehow on the way. And just everything just became hard. Training became hard. Got like a little bit of depression through there. All my craziness was kind of catching up on me. And I just kind of knew it was time to move on. And then obviously I was doing the competition side of things as well, like doing the promoting and doing events. So just like transitioned into that.
Wow. That's cool. Well, how did you get into action sports? Because the little bit of chatting that we've done in the last few weeks, which is actually really cool. I mean, we haven't spoken for years. I haven't seen you probably since in person, probably 2012 at the last Narrogin. I think that was the last
Oh
Narrogin
wow, that's time flies.
that they had.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just funny, like, coming back to everything so fast, and I was just wondering how you even got into action sports, but you've got a pretty cool story, so I'm going to let you tell it.
Well, I
How
think
you even got into freestyle because of whatever you were doing before.
so how far back how far back do you want to go?
Well, I was thinking the surfing and all that sort of
Oh
stuff.
yes, okay. All right, cool. Well, first bike, I got a my old boy's a bit of a bush dude, and
Yeah.
we were living at a cattle station here in Australia. I don't know if the viewers are familiar with them, but they're like massive big farms. And the owner of the property got his son a little 50, and then my dad kind of thought, oh, I better get him one as well. So I got a little 50. I don't even know what it was. It was a Honda. It had a steel tank. It was full retros 80. It was a piece of shit, I'll be honest with you. It was terrible. It was all bunky. It was secondhand, and then I was riding that, and then as you do, you kind of outgrow it. Then you get an 80, and then my dad was basically a single parent with me, and being a bit of a bush guy, kind of didn't want to live in the cities and the towns, so he made better money being a single parent. So we kind of like packed up, and then we moved up to the coast to a place called Red Bluff. And you're going to ask about the cave thing, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm like, come
That's
on,
where
get
you
to the
go with it.
cave.
So basically, we lived in a cave in this little surf spot. It's a pretty famous surf spot these days, but when I was there, it was pretty low key. It was a really hard road to get in there, and then once you drove in, it's like a bay, and then it's like a surf break on the point, and then at the time there was like a cave on the beach, and then we lived in the cave for about 6 months. I was just doing homeschooling and not really doing homeschooling, but it was getting sent to me. And then, I was just living there, chilling out with my old boy in this cave. We were there for about 6 months, but every now and again we got a high tide, and the water would come in, and we'd wake up in the middle of the night, and swags would be wet, and eskies would be floating around. So Dad got sick of that, and then we bought a caravan and then lived up above the cave. The cave's not there anymore; it's collapsed years ago.
It was an actual cave.
It was an actual
You were
cave.
actually
Yeah.
living in a
I think
cave.
at the time there was me, my old boy, another guy, and I feel like another family might have only just started to move there at the time. So there wasn't many.
How big was this thing?
How big's the cave? No, we weren't all in the
Yeah.
cave, but just in that bay, just in that surf spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then whatever locals would come up and surf. So it was pretty chill. No one really knew about the surf spot until Billabong did this surf competition. They used to do a surf comp called the Billabong Pro, and they'd go around the world and just like take a bunch of surfers and then surf these breaks and then do a competition at the event, like at the place, and then have a film crew and come out and film it. And it was a bit of a big thing. So then one year they came up there and they did a competition at the break north of us at Nauru. And they brought a few like younger guys up there. You might even know the names. There's like a Kelly Slater, Rob Machado, Sonny, and Oki, and a few other lads. So everyone was pretty much grommets then. And they came up and surfed and did this competition. So that was like my first time I was exposed to action sports. And
Wow.
and I was just riding around on my dirt bike, and these guys are out there, film crew and surfing and living the dream. And I'm like, I'd love to do that, but I suck at surfing. But I can ride
You
a dirt.
lived in a cave next to a surf spot, but you were still riding your dirt bike and you still suck
It
at
sounds
surfing.
pretty bad, doesn't it? Like I lived in the cave, like I'm some kind of hobbit.
Well, no. To be honest, I'd rather be doing it right now. That sounds bloody awesome.
By the time those guys got there, we were up in the caravan, so we were high rolling at that stage. We'd moved up to trailer park. But yeah, that was the first time I was kind of exposed. These guys are making money, and I was like, this is cool. Freestyle motocross wasn't even a thing at that stage. But it definitely opened my eyes up to the possibilities of making money just doing a sport that you love. Not a ball sport, but actually just doing an action sport and getting out there and and doing it that way.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the hardest thing, isn't it? If
Yeah,
you're in a ball sport, you're going to make more money than sense. And yeah, who would have thought that standing on a bloody cardboard stick and just going out into the water and having a go, or riding a dirt bike is going to make money? I never would have thought that
yeah,
possible. But
most definitely. So after that kind of played out, my grandparents are pretty off my old boy. They were kind of thinking Jeremy needs to get an education. He can't live up
oh
there
dear,
forever. So they sold the farm, and then they moved up to the town, which is Carnarvon, and then I moved in to Carnarvon with moved in with my grandparents, and then my
yeah,
dad just kept on doing his thing. And then also around about the same time, that's when the old Crusty Demon videos started to appear. So you get them on those VH tapes, and you watch them 20 million times, and you press stop and rewind and get to your best bit again and check it out, and and that kind of hooked me, as most kids did back then. And
yeah,
everything I was watching on those Crusty videos, I had in my backyard. Like all that desert terrain was in my backyard.
yeah.
So
Whoa.
I was riding Australia's version of Ocotillo Wells, I suppose, in Carnarvon. So yeah,
No way.
yeah.
And what bike did you have at that point?
I think I was on I was riding when I was doing my 80s. I got up to a DS80 and I started jumping that. Then,
DS80.
then
Yeah, that was
you had one of
one of
those,
my
didn't
favorite bikes.
you? Yeah, yeah. So,
Like it.
so after that, my old boy kind of got over it. So he sold the bike on me because I was jumping it, and he thought I'll buy him a quad, and that'll stop it. And then I just started jumping the quad, and and I wrapped it around a gum tree, and
Nice.
and then we fixed it up, and then I up in the dunes trying to jump that, do tricks, and I crashed it, and the quads bounce around and fall apart. So then after that, Dad's like, okay, we're gonna have to get you a motocross bike. And then once we got that, then things were going up a gear. And then they've eventually got the 250, and then away we went from there.
That's awesome. So here you are in Carnarvon,
Mm-hmm.
basically Australia's version of what you're watching on Crusty Demons, and you've got a 250 finally. That's awesome. And so you would have just been riding that on your own, or did you have a bunch of mates there that were also coming
No,
out with you?
at that stage, pretty much on my own. There's a couple of my mates, but they weren't really pushing it like I was. I mean, they were just like having the fun weekend, but I was all in. Like the blinkers were on. Um, I was all in. So yeah, I was
Man,
just doing that, riding in the hills, just scoping out jumps and things like that. I didn't really have much like idea of ramps at that stage, and then I was really into drawing as well. And then I think a magazine came out. I think it's called Moto X Rider or something.
yeah.
And I just rang them and said, "Hey, do you guys want cartoons?" And they're like, "What?" I was a kid. I would have been like 15 or 16. And I'm like, "Do you guys want to do like cartoons?" And they're like, "Oh, just send us some stuff and we'll see if we run it." So I drew up this cartoon thing for them and sent it off. And then I got hooked up with that. So I started doing cartoons in a motocross magazine that'll come out each month. And then
That's awesome.
from there,
What a dream for a kid.
and then from there, that's how I kind of got introduced to different riders, and I got to float around the state, and yeah.
And so this was just for the hell of it. You're drawing cartoons and cruising around. You're in magazines back then. That's pretty damn gnarly. Like, that's just showing a little bit of initiative, isn't it?
Yeah, I look back now and I think, man, like just this kid just ringing, because you didn't have mobile phones or internet or calling people. I remember just looking in the magazine and I saw the phone number and I was like, I was going to give him a call. I just rang up. Hey, how you doing, mate? Yeah, you want some cartoon? And and they went with it. So yeah, just one of those things, isn't it? Lucky, I guess.
That's crazy. So you've gone from Carnarvon,
Mm-hmm.
you are free riding all around, and you've basically come into contact with Holtzy somewhere along the line here. We've already spoken about him,
That
but
that's how it started with that magazine, actually.
what, Holtzy got you into the
No,
magazine,
no,
or
other
what's
way
going on?
around. So I was doing the cartoons, and then there was a guy in WA that was doing FMX really well, Josh Maley, He was probably like the
Oh
first.
yeah, I remember.
So he was the first kind of like serious riding rock star guy in WA for sure. And so he was kind of blowing up. He just did like this event with Metzger and Tommy Clowes and Chris Rourke, and they wanted to do a story on him. So the magazine got hold of me because I'm the guy on the ground and said, "Hey, can you like organise something?" So I organised a bit of a trip. So for Josh to come up and ride this compound, and then I needed a photographer, and I was like, "Oh, who can I use?" And normally I used to, at that stage, I was doing a lot of shoots with a surf photographer, and
Yeah.
because I was like, well, that surf crowd, and then he couldn't do it, so then he's like suggested I get a hold of this guy who also is a surf photographer, Leith Holtzman. So I gave him a buzz, and he came up, and that was, I think that might have been one of his. I don't say it was his first, but definitely early days for him to get into the sport, and then
Yeah.
so he did the shoot, we did the article, and he was talking about doing a movie at that stage. I think it would have been the first homegrown from his homegrown videos, and away from there, talk about meeting someone and where things go in life. Um, that's how.
That's crazy. Yeah, like Holtzy, for anyone that hasn't heard, like the Homegrown Maniacs movie, well, they were movies first. I think there was, 3 or 4 movies that he made really early on in 2000s.
Yeah, because I'm pretty
And
sure
then there was a TV show.
he was doing surf videos at the get go, and then it kind of like this FMX thing started coming along, and he jumped on that, and the way it went. Because I think
he was pretty much
like
one of the main ones in Australia.
I think he did like a surf video that had like a segment of freestyle in it, I think, from memory, and then
Yeah.
and then I went from there. Yeah.
So you've met Holtzy, you've kind of brought him into the fold.
Brought him in. I took the young fella under my wing. And,
the young fella, God, that's crazy. And so then where did you go? Like you've got into freestyle motocross, and actually then you started popping up in Freerider Magazine. That's where I started to see you, of course.
Yeah.
And then freestyle, did it become a job, or was it always just a thing on the side for you?
I think I did it full time. I was probably rode for nearly 10 years. Would that be? I have to go back and think. So much memory is gone, but I think it's in the mix of a good 10 years. 5 years of that, it was good income. It was my main income. I enjoyed it.
Doing plenty of shows around WA, or did you head over east?
No,
was there
mostly WA? We had it nailed in WA, and you got to thank Josh for putting all that in front of us, because he was the main one to organise these shows at first, getting contacts and becoming that promoter and doing shows. And I think at some stage there, Josh is doing something ridiculous like 40 shows a year in WA alone, which is a lot. Not many guys are even doing that these days.
Not exactly.
So was Josh kind of set it all up. He had this down ramp, which is it's pretty shocking. It's like a hot dog stand, and even for him at that stage was really early in the game. Portable trucks and that were yet to come along.
That's what I was thinking. Like, what year are you thinking here? Like, I can't even remember.
I've got to think back on motorcycles. That's how I think back. So I was right, maybe 2002. Would that be kind of a fair?
Wow.
I mean, heaps of dirt shows, and as it is, dirt shows can be pretty terrible because they only bring half the dirt, and trying to use things to save dirt, and so the hot dog stand at least was consistent. And
that's so funny. Have you? I mean, you've been trying to find photos, so you probably don't have a photo of that, but I'd love to see a photo of that first truck.
I'll be able to get one of those. Stand. Yeah. I'll flick Josh a message. He'll give you a look at this hot dog stand. But if it wasn't for that, that was the first step into the door, and Josh paved the way for everyone in WA from then on out. So hot dogs down and a hot dog stand, it got things started. And man, he did shows. He did so many shows, and it was a good thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, I guess you'd be doing like mining towns and stuff like that, or are you just doing like the old ag shows, or
Oh
what
yeah,
were
just
they?
doing all the regional shows, anything big. Perth had a lot of events come over this way. We had like the rally car, like this Australian rally car stuff, and bike shows, and festivals, and man, all sorts. Because it was blowing up. FMX was new then, so anything that could get it in there and draw a crowd, it was there. It was done.
Well, that's it. I guess Crusty Demons all started in Perth.
You know what?
If I
It,
remember correctly, it
yeah,
was the first big show.
it was. Yeah, they did that down in by Divers. I'm pretty sure they did one. They did a little tour. I think they did Perth and then maybe Kalgoorlie. Was it?
And that
Man,
was when they went bananas, and a young Mike Pora picked up the idea of doing the Krusty tour. I think, if I remember correctly, I could be getting my dates wrong and the people wrong, but I'm pretty
possibly.
sure.
Because the first one I did in Perth, that's the one where everyone just rolled the fences and just ran in like it was just chaos. They stormed.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think Metzger was on the down ramp and he had a helmet and he was like trying to give it to the crowd, like, who wants my helmet? And then everyone's kind of like looking like, what do we just rush him? And and a friend of mine, actually Daniel Woodman, he just looked at everyone else and went, fuck, I'm going. So he just jumped over the fence and just ran Metzger down and that's and got his helmet. And that's that footage, if you remember the first Krusty videos where Metzger's like on that down ramp going, oh, who what's it? And the crowd just chases it down. But that's WA. That's us in a nutshell. Every show over here is pretty crazy. And
Is it?
oh yeah, I think all the crazy events have always happened over in this side of the coast for some reason.
Actually, I did a show. I'm trying to remember. It was with Shuey and Callum Shaw and a couple of the WA boys. We did a monster truck show.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name. It's on the tip of my tongue. It must have been like in 2013 or something.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Krusty's, of course, had been done by then. The Krusty tours were over. And
yeah.
I think they called one of the trucks like the Krusty Demons Magazine monster truck, and they promoted it as a Krusty Demons show. And like,
oh, no.
I think it was 16,000 or 20,000 people went to the, what is it? Is it Barbagallo? Was that the raceway or something out there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so many people turned up. We had to delay the show to start the show, I think by 1 or 2 hours because people couldn't even get in the front gate. It took so long.
Oh, yeah.
They were thinking it was a Krusty show, but it wasn't. Like it was just only Shuey was the only one.
In those days over here, anything FMX, it was chaotic, like craziness. I remember like going to events in a like coaster bus and the crowd will see is coming in the coaster bus and there's be like shaking the bus and, just like a swarm of people around. It's like, I felt like it was part of the Motley Crue or something. Like it was just chaotic over here. I do not know why, but the fans in Perth just frothed on the whole thing. They loved it.
That's so good.
Do you remember that one?
But then,
you remember that Krusty one where they stormed the crowd and everyone started popping the airbags and jumping up on the down ramps and spinning the ramps around and.
Yes, I do actually.
Like you wouldn't get that. You wouldn't get that anywhere else. But yeah,
no, that's probably true.
That's just the norm, isn't it? Well, it was back, back then.
Like every Brisbane show that I was at, everyone sat there and almost clapped like they were English. Oh, very good show.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Yes, we'll all go home. So was there an East versus West thing? I always look back on those days and I remember when all the guys from over East would head over, it was like major news that someone would possibly head to WA to go ride freestyle. And I remember there was like that one tour where they were riding like Northern Territory and WA, and I don't remember, it all looked really good, but it seemed like there was an East and West kind of vibe to freestyle. And you guys stayed there and everyone in the East stayed in the East, and it kind of stayed like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there was a bit of a, I know what you're saying. I definitely felt the vibe. And then every time you go over East, everyone's kind of like, well, what are you doing here? But I don't know. Overall, I think it was pretty accommodating. I mean...
Yeah, I remember when Flanders turned up to Shuey's place and he sent his own Honda over and it was a bucket of bolts. And I was like, what the hell are you doing and coming over here? Like with this, you might as well have just borrowed one of Shuey's bikes, would have been way better.
Yeah.
But old Brad Landers, he was up for it. He didn't mind doing a good 5,000-kilometer drive and
Yeah, and that's
then
the
back
other thing.
home
It was
again.
so far between each coast. I mean, just to go over and do an event, unless the promoter's paying well and hooking it all up, I suppose it's not really worth it, especially for the competitions and side of things.
Yeah.
And it would have been exactly the same for the East Coast coming over here. Like, it was an absolute mission. So yeah, it
Yeah.
goes both ways, but I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So you yourself, you were a bit of a combo king back in the day.
Yeah, put a couple of combos together.
Yeah. So was that kind of your thing, like getting into shows or jumping in magazines and whatever? Like, is that,
Yeah,
were you looking for that, or I don't know?
the worst thing about being known for doing combos is when you get in the magazines, you can't really show it, can you? Like, you're just gonna you get that one
Exactly.
trick. Yeah, combos is my thing. I really enjoyed combos. I don't know why. That was my little niche.
Yeah.
Obviously, once the flip started coming along, I went down the combo road. Yeah, I don't know. Combos are dope. Like, I don't. It's a shame you don't really see much of it these days. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. And I
Everyone.
think if I was going to think of someone big doing combos, I'd probably say like Adam Jones still. Like, he
Yeah,
tries to throw in a fair few. But remembering back then, it was kind of like Dane Kinnaird.
Dane was
He was just
ripping them.
comboing anything he could.
Yeah. And even now with the ramps and how they change, like, I'm surprised no one's like really pushing the combos on those, especially those the moon booter and that. I don't know. I've never hit one, but I'm assuming you could be able to really throw a few different variations out
Yeah.
on something
And
like that.
I guess once the flip was coming out, guys were just spending way more time just trying to learn that damn backflip.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
So yeah, I get a little bit of vertigo,
Oh,
and so Brad Landers, I think he's hooked up the same sponsor as I was, and he just did that. He started doing that flips down Esperance in the dunes, and then the sponsor was like, "Oh, we're gonna capitalize on this. Let's send him over to Shoeies and trying to get him to learn the flip in his pit." And then I was
yeah.
kind of like, "Oh, might as well send me as well." So they said, "Okay, no worries." So they sent me over with Brad, and I had no intentions of flipping. I just wanted a free trip, really, and just go and party on the Gold Coast. So he rocked
Yeah.
up to Shoeies, and he's got the super kicker there, and his foam pit was terrible at the time. I think he just come back from injury, so he wasn't doing any riding, and his foam pit just had a winter where his tarp was over the top of the phone. All the rain has been pouring onto the tarp, so it's just heavy tarp, just compressed the foam down to the ground. And he was supposed to have an excavator show up a couple of days early before our arrival to fluff it all up. That never happened. So we get there, we pull the tarp off, and this foam pit's just rock hard, and we're trying to get in there and fluff it up a little bit. And after about half an hour, we kind of like, that'll do. It's all good. And so Shuey's like gets on his bike and just wraps one around. Yeah, he's fine. And then he's done. He's done. He's like, I don't like the foam pit anyway. So he's back to hitting the
Yeah.
ramps. He's got it dialed. So me and Brad are kind of like looking at it. And I think we had the super kicker there. And I just, every time I'd try and do a flip, lights out. I'd go to sleep. Just the vertigo would take over.
Really?
Yeah, I'd just get upside down and I wouldn't sure where I was. I'd lose myself and then I'd lose consciousness and then I'd kind of like wake up and I'd be in the foam pit. And I'm like, fuck. So that was my
In
deal.
2.5 seconds, 3 seconds.
Just loop me every time. But I should have went over there a little bit more. Like, you need your headspace when you go over to things like
Yeah.
that. You know, I mean, you need to like prepare yourself, and I was not prepared. I just rolled over there, and all I was thinking in my head was Gold Coast, get drunk, I'm gonna party as much as I can. Perfect. So went over there, got in this damn foam pit, kept going to sleep, and then I remember doing one, and I landed on my head. And I was like, son of a bitch, that really hurt. I got out of the pit, my neck's all stiff and sore. I'm like, that's cool, whatever. I'll just have a rest today, come back in the morning. Woke up in the morning and my neck was so stiff and so sore. And I was like, I'll just sit this out. So I chilled for a few days. It wasn't getting any better. So I was like, all right, boys, that's me. I'm going to go back to the Goldie and do what I really came here for. So I went back to the Goldie and just partied up for like a whole week, 7 days. I like my partying back
Full
then.
gas.
Yeah, and I remember I was there for 7 days, partied up, and the last day I went to the toilet in the morning and I just pissed blood, and I was like, man,
Oh,
it's time for me to go home. So I
I'd say so.
flew back home, got up to Carnarvon. I just chilled on the couch for a couple of weeks, and then I had shows coming up, and I was like, I better go and hit the ramp and get a bit of pracky. So I went down to the compound. As soon as I hit the ramp, my neck felt a bit weird. Landed, whoa, that's definitely weird. Straight to the hospital, got my x-rays, broke my neck.
Whoa.
So I broke my neck in Shuey's pit, which I'm assuming I wouldn't be the first. I think that pit copped a few victims, isn't it?
Mate, that was the first foam pit I ever jumped into, and
disgusting.
I didn't break anything in there, but I hated it. I guess I jumped in there for 2, 3 years, 4 years maybe.
Yeah.
And I never felt comfortable going. I should have just went to dirt because it always hurt so much going into his pit.
Dirt probably would have felt softer than that damn foam pit. It was...
Yeah.
No one knew how to build stuff back then, you know. Everyone's just kind of learning, and Shuey was probably one of the first foam pits in Oz.
I think it was the first foam pit, actually.
Yeah. Looking back now, you'd build it differently, you know. Like nowadays you wouldn't even use a foam pit and go buy an airbag, but
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Well, actually, speaking of Benny Foster from the start, I was there the day he broke his back in Shuey's foam pit, and he. If I remember correctly, he didn't even stuff up the actual flip. He got the rotation around, but I guess his feet came off the pegs, and as the bike touched down, instead of his feet being on the pegs, they went past, and he just smashed his ass on the seat, and broke his back. So we pulled him out of the pit, and I remember how hard that pit was. Even the foam was shaking because his body just went into like this. What would you call it? He didn't have a seizure. It wasn't a seizure or anything, but his body was just shaking. I don't know why. I guess obviously it knew that it was broken, and you could see all of the foam pit shaking with his body. So we jumped in, got him out of there, put him in the back of the van, and drove him to good old Boona Hospital where everyone goes.
Yeah.
And he broke his back, and I saw a fair few broken bones come out of that pit.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel for you, mate. I know exactly how it feels, except for the vertigo. I don't have that.
Well, man, I used to get vertigo when I first started doing tricks. You do a Cordova, gets a little bit blue, but you can kind of once you work out where you
that was going to be my next question. Actually, I was going to say, did you do Cordovas if you had vertigo?
All the rest of the stuff fine. Once you work out where you are, but just doing that flip, it was new to me. And I just try to do it too rushed. You got to get your head in the right space. You got to build yourself up to things. And in hindsight, I just went about it wrong. I just went over there and went, oh, yeah, we'll just pop this and see how we go. Instead of, pop the neck instead.
But Flanders, on the other hand, he was getting flips around, I guess, at the time.
I was drunk on the Gold Coast at that stage. I don't think he did too well either, to be honest, because I think he went back a second time to try and better himself. I never went back. I was just like, combos for me. Combos cool.
WA Combo King, leave Steve Minnie on the East Coast and you can do them on the West Coast.
Yeah. I think Steve was in the same boat. It took him a while.
That's it. Bloody backflips. Nah, I know that one. So you're on the Gold Coast, you're partying it up. I guess was partying half the reason why you're doing freestyle at that point?
Oh, look,
I'm guessing you got into it a bit.
I embraced that freestyle lifestyle.
Did you?
Yeah, I loved the party. It was good. Really did. Yeah, I was partying nonstop. I would do so many shows hungover or still buckled.
Really?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Really? You could do a show still buzzed?
I was buckled. I remember a few times there. I remember one particular moment where I was at this nightclub and the guys are like, my phone's ringing, blah, 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 you got to get to the show. And I remember coming out of this nightclub, as soon as I walk out, it's like, woof, sunlight. Like, oh my God,
no.
Sun's out. And the guys just pulled up right in front of the nightclub and go, come on, bro, you're running late. And I was like, oh, shit. So I get in the car and they take me out to the venue. And by the time I pull in, everyone else is on their bikes with their gear on. And the microphone guy is like, yeah,
Fuck.
getting ready. He wants to see Jerry Fungi Furniss, and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm still buckled and whatever's in my system. And I remember like just kind of run to my gear bag, put my gear on, and I like start my bike, and the vibrations like it must have got to me. And I was like stopped as before I got out, lift my helmet up, spewed my ring up, put my helmet back on, and then right straight into the show. And I've done that multiple times, and how I never singed myself, I have no idea. But
Wow. Wow.
rockstar riding lifestyle a little bit too much, I think. Yeah,
Far out. I
surely I was.
never could.
Surely I was.
I never even wanted to
Did that.
try.
Hey, you didn't? No.
No. Because I always knew, like, not new, but if I crashed because I was off my head, I'd be so pissed at myself. So I put myself under strict orders. No way. Like, I hated even riding hungover. Like, I hate being hungover. Simple as that. Like, anything loud, I'm out of there. Like, I just can't handle it. I'm just too weak, mate. So no, I never did it. And I knew, like I remember turning up to some shows and seeing guys like pretty off chop, and I'm like, ooh, they're going to be in for a big day.
Oh yeah.
I could never do that. I never wanted to do that. I never could do that.
Yeah.
I don't even think, even if I thought I could do it, I don't think I could have done it. Like, I just wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, no, did not bother me. I never used to. One time I tried to take speed and then ride on speed, and
Bloody hell.
yeah, why not? And then I just kept getting tangled up in the bars. Like I was getting too excited. I was like, tangled up bars. Nah. So after a while, I was like, okay, hungover's fine.
Wow.
It's not buckled.
Wow, man. I
But
didn't get it. Didn't get in there.
Guys are doing the same. Come on.
I'm sure they are, but it wasn't me. Like I said, I physically wouldn't even be able to do it. I'd just be that useless that kickstarting a bike would probably be too difficult for me. So,
yeah.
Man, but what about even coming towards the ramp? Like, if you can see 3 ramps, which one do you choose? I'm guessing the one in the middle.
Stick to the one in the middle, bro. Stick to the middle.
Just go for it.
Yeah. Nah, you know it off by heart, though, don't you? You know what I mean? Like, you come into the ramp, you know
it's
that.
All muscle memory.
Exactly. I remember I was doing this. I remember at my compound. I had a compound and it was all under lights, and I came around and the lights went out, and you just hit the ramp in the dark, and you just know. You know what I mean? Like, it's second nature.
Yeah. It's true. And it's like when you haven't ridden for a long time and you get back on and you're shitting your pants and you're looking at the ramp and you do a bunch of speed checks. But then that one time that you commit and you're just going to jump, you're like, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, it just happens and you just got the muscle memory.
Yeah, you get that timing sorted. You're fine. Yeah. Easy.
Did you get yourself into any trouble with the partying other than being pulled out of a club at whatever time in the morning and doing a show? Did you actually get into a bit of strife?
Oh, bro, thank God social media wasn't around in those days. Seriously, I'd be in jail. Man, like...
Really?
Oh, we're all doing stupid shit back in those days. Steve, you seem like you're a bit of two goody two-shoes, mate.
Mate, I am a goody two-shoes.
I don't know, but maybe it's just my friends network, but we were doing stupid shit on a daily.
Yeah.
And, too many... I'll probably go to jail if I said any of these stories on the
I was going to say, you've kept out of jail. That's the main thing. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm like, well, you're not in jail, so it sounds like you kind of were all right.
I was just a retard back then, really. Like, I was just too much partying and just like riding bikes, and rather than pulling your head in and training. But the game's changed these days, so I had my fun.
That's it. You couldn't do that sort of stuff now.
No.
Or you can, just hopefully no one's got a phone out and video on you doing what you're doing. So, like you said, lucky you didn't have social media back then. Probably would have been a problem.
That'd be a terrible. I like social media though now with the freestyle side of things. Like if I had social media back then when I was living in Carnarvon, and just to be able to like film my landscape and my environment and where I was riding, it's just to give a window into that place. It's completely different to anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like with social media you can make money doing that now. Like there's riders out.
Well, that's the thing, and you said something about with Carnarvon. Holtzy was actually going to come out and film it once, but it didn't happen. Like you could have actually put Carnarvon on the map.
That was Exmouth. He wanted us to come up and
was it Exmouth?
Yeah, he wanted to do like a film shoot up in Exmouth, and so we drove up there, and we did a show there maybe a month earlier, and then Holtzy gave us a call. He said, "Come up and we'll film some natural terrain." So me and my mate Pompey, we loaded the van up and we just drank the whole way, like all the way to Exmouth. By the time we got to Exmouth, we were buckled. And then rather than going to Holtzy's, we just went straight to the pub. And then once we got in the pub, all the locals are there, like, "Oh, hey, you guys are back. Oh, what's up?" So then we got on the shots. Things like escalated. And I went into the pisser, and I fly kicked the soap dispenser off the wall, and I went into the urinal, and I thought that was so funny. And Pompey thought it was funny too. And then he goes, "Yeah, but check this out." And he jumps on the hand basin, those big ceramic hand basins.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just comes out of the wall. The pipe burst, water's gone everywhere. We thought it was hilarious. And we didn't know this at the time, but the head security guy was in the toilet taking a dump. So he rolls out and kicks us out. I've got a lifetime ban from that pub.
Wow.
So he kicked us out.
I'm not surprised.
I got back in my van, and then I went to leave to drive out, which I shouldn't have been driving in the first place. And then there's these islands in the road. So if you want to if you want to turn right and then take the next street, you've got to go left first and go around the island and then take a U-turn and come back. And I couldn't be bothered with that. So I just went down the wrong side of the road, and then the police called me. So he pulls me over and walks up for the breatho. "How you doing, mate? You know why I pulled you over?" "Yeah, I'm on the wrong side of the road." "Yep." "And you're buckled?" "Yep." And he recognised me. This is how bad WA is with freestyle motocross. He's like, "Oh my God, Jeremy, fuck, here you go. My son knew I was here. Oh my God." So
no.
He breathalyzes me. I'm way over. He takes me back to the cop shop, and he was so nice. This dude was like making me sandwiches and trying to sober me up before we do the second breatho. And it didn't play out.
Hell.
Yeah. Nice treatment. So that was all cool. Blew my numbers. Got out of there. That was all good. Went to this house party, and then another friend shows up, and he's in a ute, and he's got this local girl in the middle seat, and another friend of mine in the car, and they're like, "Oh, this local girl saying there's a better party on the other side of town. We'll go to that." So I was like, "Oh, sweet." So we jump in the car. My other friend gets in the back, like in the ute body, and off we go on the other side of town. So we're cruising along, and we get to this T section, and we're going right. And I look to the left, and there's a police car. And I just said to my friend, I said, "Oh, man, don't do anything stupid because there's a police car just there. So just indicate nice and easy and drive off in a comfortable speed level." As soon as I said police, he wigged it, puts his foot on the accelerator. He is out of there. And the cops turn around. They give chase. And then we're in this you ever been in a high-speed car chase before?
No, not with cops, no.
It's pretty crazy. So this guy, there's not too many streets in Exmouth. We end up in a dead-end cul-de-sac up over the curb into the trees. And then the police are kind of pulling behind us, and the second car's there. And then I'm like, "Oh my God!"
Bloody hell.
And then the cops come over and put their torch in, and it's the same dude. He's like, "Jeremy, what are you doing twice in one night?" That was my trip to Exmouth. We really let Holtzy down on that one. Sorry. Sorry about
mate.
that. That's pretty much the story of my freestyle motocross career. It's just like one antic after another. So
I can see why you got burnt out. You probably didn't leave freestyle. You were probably evicted from it with a lifetime ban. Bloody hell, mate! You've had some fun, haven't you?
That was just a weekly thing. I don't know, I don't know why these things happen to me.
Don't know. I can't work that out. Oh man. No, can't say I've ever been in that position. I've been a good boy. I don't do any of that drunk
Come on,
driving
Steve. You
and
must have done a bit of something on
carrying
the footy
on.
in your time.
No, I'm a good boy. I
Ah,
don't do anything bad. No, yeah. No, I'm good.
it sounds really bad because I actually took the sport pretty serious. I thought I did okay. And then when I went to shows,
Yeah,
I was professional and I only crashed at one show. And that's
yeah.
because the promoter was cheap and he didn't want to put dirt down. So what they did is they got all these hay bales and stacked all these hay bales up. And then they put a dirt over the top. And then as we go on through the show, the hay bale started breaking apart. And then
Oh shit.
I was midway through a train, and then it just opened up like a big gap, and then I landed in this gap, and I was like, whoosh, and crashed out.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
fantastic.
apart from that, like I think promoters enjoyed my company because I went there, I never crashed, I rode, I did my thing, I was fun at the events. You know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah.
having
Yeah, exactly.
a bit of a character out there doing its thing is a lot more entertaining than you just your standard Lego man doing a show. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, it was fun. But then once the bike's put away, the fungi comes out.
Then fungi's out. Spelt wrong, fungi. Bloody hell. Oh, there you go. I didn't even know because when I was doing shows over there with you, because you were my boss.
Oh yeah.
I remember we did that one show. I can't remember where it was. It was a mate of yours that we stayed with a few hours north of Perth.
I mean, Geraldton,
With
was it like a four drive show or something? Was that the one?
Yeah, I think it was a full drive show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we were staying pretty close to the beach and he had a bit of a freestyle setup
Oh yeah, yeah.
out the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jake. Yeah, that's it. And Muggins was there, a very young Muggins. Yeah, but I remember when you were the boss, mate, we were not to do anything wrong. You know, we had to turn up and get the show done. And
Well, at least you turned.
mate, you came down hard on us.
I don't think so.
That and I was riding your bike.
Yeah, yeah. That's crasher, bro.
Yeah, that was probably more the problem. Like, don't fuck this thing up. So no, but it was awesome. I remember doing that show, and like, I guess that was the point where you were finishing up your freestyle. You still had the KTM there, so I borrowed it.
Yeah.
And then you were on the mic. I was probably having more fun listening to the shit talk that you had on the microphone,
Yeah.
than even doing the show. Like, if I was sitting back waiting for one guy to do a trick, and like, I can't remember even what you would have said, but it was just funny. Like, that was the best part.
I was pretty good on the mic back then, wasn't I? I don't know what happened. I'm really
Yeah.
bad at speaking in the public now, but I used to enjoy the old mic.
I think actually the best stuff was at Narrogin Revheads.
Yeah.
When you got on the mic there, I guess this is before you were actually involved in helping them promote the freestyle, and you were just on the mic. And the big one for me was Matt the Hat Haggerty and how much that pissed him off. And I remember like I guess you were creating kind of like the good guy, bad guy thing.
Yeah.
And just taking the absolute piss out of hags every year. It was just the ongoing joke.
It was amazing. Yeah, because we were nicknamed Matt the Hat Haggerty.
Matt the Hat. Did you get a tattoo? Did someone get a tattoo of it?
No, Holtzy got some stickers made that said "I know Matt Haggerty" because that's what I was saying on the microphone. I was like calling it out, like I know Matt Haggerty. You know, I'm friends with Matt Haggerty. I know Matt Haggerty. And then Holtzy went and got these stickers made, and that kind of like fed the fire a little bit further. And then I think it was like a couple of years ago, I got Matt the Hat Haggerty. I know Matt Haggerty tattooed on my leg. We had a little bit of a pissy night at the tattoo studio, and Jake Holloway tattooed it on my leg. I think I might get it covered though. Sorry, Matt, but
no, keep that one, mate. There's a memory there. That is awesome.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I remember I was with this girl one night, and she looked at my leg and go, "I know Matt Haggerty." I know Matt Haggerty. I said, "Do you?" She goes, "Yeah." And she went on to her story. I was like, "Oh, Matt Haggerty, eh? Oh, Matt Haggerty."
Well, it's not good when the girls see it. Oh shit. So how did you get I know how you got into with Rev Heads and promoting, but how did it go? Like I said at the top of this, that was one of the best comps in Australia, and it was held in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Narrogin in WA. What, 2-3 hours from Perth?
I think it's about a 12.5 hour drive from Perth,
Yeah. And how did it go for you? Like, I loved going there. I was there 6 times,
Mm-hmm.
and I think in the end
Six
I won
times.
the award
Wow.
for. Yep, I was there more than the sickest man alive.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he was there 5 times. I went there 6 times
Because I'm
from
pretty
the East
sure it was
Coast.
the longest running competition in Oz. That'd be
Yep,
fair.
it
And it
was.
was the highest paying competition in Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I never lost too much money flying over there,
Yeah.
which was the main thing.
Yeah. And if you could tee it up and have a couple of shows while you're over here, then it makes it a little bit more worthy, doesn't it? Can't do these trips.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had a good sponsor with Jason
No, he's
at
both
Lakes
based, isn't
Networking,
he?
who's
Yeah.
he's in South Lake on the south of Perth,
Yeah.
and I'd always borrow his Toyota Hilux
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
borrow somebody's bike. I think the first year Mulks organised a bike for me, or Jamie
Yeah.
organised the bike.
Yeah.
Mulks got the second one. I think I used yours twice,
Oh,
if
wow.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
3 times. Yeah, it was always good. Like the guys in WA were just so accommodating. There was always a bike waiting, maybe not waiting for me. You probably had to make a few calls and like, come on, he's good for it. He won't fuck
Yeah,
it.
that was one thing about getting everyone over. You got to organise bikes, and that was you just get on the, I don't know, you get a few calls and organise bikes, and that was all good. It was easy. But the event was that was different, wasn't it? The Rev Heads event, that was a bit of another classic WA party event.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. That's it. But why did it disappear? Like, if it was the longest running comp, it had the most prize money, even though it was in the middle of nowhere. What happened?
Well, I think it was originally. I think Lawson kicked it off and got it started, and then Chitty and that were doing it. I came in a little bit later on. Yeah, I tried to make it a good comp. I think we were the first to put a serious course in,
Yeah.
and we had some good riders from the get go. I mean, I remember Jacko Strong did the first event on an 80.
Whoa.
Like he was just a rock. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure he flew in, got in a limo, and then took the limo all the way to the event. Got to the event, and then rode an 80.
Full rock star.
That's full rock star. Yeah, I don't know. It was a good event. We ran it for as long as we could. At the end of the day, the sponsorship money wasn't coming in. I think the location didn't help. It really needed to be in the metro area to get those sponsorship dollars through.
Yeah.
The downturn happened at the end there, so we lost a lot of sponsorship through there. It was an expensive event, and I was pretty much done for it. You know what I mean? I kind of wish there's people would come in and get some pockets deep and put into it.
Yeah.
Or if something could have come along later in a more of a metro region, just never eventuated. And then since then, I think Oz just hasn't had anything to take its place, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But look,
Yeah, it was a real shame because, like, I remember talking a lot with Brad there at Narrogin, and every year he was like, "This is the last one. I can't keep doing this every year." And of course, the next year I was back there and staying at his place a bit, and he's like, "Oh, mate, it's so much work. This is the last year, and
not
then
even
we
that.
go again."
You got to remember these things. They cost money. You know what I mean? And it's got to be viable. I mean, it's cool for the riders to come out and ride these events, and that's good. It gives them a platform, and that's what RevEz was. It was a platform not only for the pro riders, but it gave the AMs a chance to come up and show their skills and ride against the pros.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a business, and it's got to make money. If it doesn't make money, it's not viable. Then it simply can't run any longer.
Yeah.
But it definitely helped. Like, oh man, how many riders came through that event that are now household names? Jacko Strong, Josh Ian made his debut there. Clinton Moore. Who else has gone through there?
Steve Minnie, Cam Sinclair.
Stewie, I think rode one year. Oh, Robbie Adelberg pretty much cleaned up every year. Yeah. Oh, who else we got? Tyrone Gilks. Yeah, there's heaps of guys that came through that used as a platform to go on to bigger and better things. And it was cool that I got to do my part to push that.
And what was your part in that? Because I know you were trying to keep the whole thing alive. Were you working close with Brad and the Narrogin guys?
Yeah, so Brad and Narrogin guys were doing all the groundwork. I'd come in and kind of do the freestyle side of things, build the course, run the whole deal, alongside Brad and that microphone, the whole the whole thing, running around with all the different hats on, and just trying to put it together
Yeah, man.
on a shoestring budget.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the funny thing. Like we said, it was the most money, I think, in pretty much any Australian FMX competition. And it was crazy that it was there. How did you get that sort of sponsorship money even to start with? Or was this kind of coming out of mining money somehow?
No, a lot of it was coming back through from, like, obviously ticket sales and coming through the gate from the event. A little bit of sponsorship money there for sure, but it wasn't like a lot in those days. Yeah. It was hard. It was hard work, and things were going wrong as well. It's just WA. I remember it was just crazy. With like everyone would party afterwards. That was known for it. I remember you wake up the next day and there'd be like a mattress on the course, and you know, I think one year a lighting tower got stolen. I mean, how many events do you go to where someone steals a lighting tower? That's another thing.
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that. Waking up, what the hell?
Yeah,
Who's got the lighting tower?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And people were camping there.
Dude, everyone's like, partying, hey, like tent city. You know what I mean? Everyone, you look out on the course at midnight and there'll be people just drunk, riding mini bikes over it, and you know, just carrying on, and the antics going on. It's just it's what made the event kind of cool and what it was. It wasn't the old go to a stadium, sit in your seat, watch it all go down. All right, it's finished now. I'm going to go home. It was a weekend of dirt bikes, girls, drinking, live music. I don't know.
Just good bush fun.
Just a bit of a bush duff of dirt bikes.
Yeah. No, I loved it. I was there every year. Actually, I remember one year when Jack Field was there doing the trials riding, and he was bouncing off shipping containers and stuff. And then he's like, oh, do you reckon I could come join in on the freestyle? And I think he got 7th, and he beat like 5 or 6 guys on motorbikes.
Bro, he was jumping,
and they were pissed.
He was jumping 75 foot on that trials bike, and he got
full gas,
and he got in the top 10. And I remember sitting in the judges' booth, and like he just do a flip off a rock or something, you know what I mean? Off nothing, like half a burp, and then everyone's like, "Did we count that?" And we're like, well, "It's on the course."
It's a trick.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you know, sure, he got an extra 10 jumps in, only because he's jumping off anything that he can flip his bike off. But yeah, that's cool. Have you? I don't think I've seen anyone on a trials bike do that kind of thing.
No, I'm pretty sure Jack Field is the only guy to have done that. And he was flipping big. Did he flip the dirt jump? It was like 60 foot, 75, maybe 70 foot dirt jump.
Memory, but I think he did. Yeah, I think it was kind of like, I think it was like a little bit of a whip flip kind of a deal. Like yeah. What a lord, eh? Champion.
Get it around one way or another. But no, they were definitely the good days. I loved heading over there and spending plenty of time in WA. I remember we did
that was the peak of the sport for sure. That early 2000s to the late 2000s was like 2012. It kind of started tapering off. I feel it started off then. Yeah.
Did you actually go to that homegrown filming session we did like a day or two after one of the Narrogins? It was at some secret spot somewhere near Bunbury.
Yeah. I went there with my camera and a few friends there, you know, trying to get that. Everyone, all the photo guys, all they want to do is get a front cover. You know, that's their thing. They got to get a front cover. Got to get that front cover. And I rolled in there, and I remember I was just taking snaps, and I was just teasing everyone all day. I was like, boys, put the cameras away. I've got this. I'm going to get the cover shot. Just chill out. And Holtzy had this helicopter there, and 4 drones. And so this helicopter came in. Sheeny came through, and I think he pulled a whip, and it kind of whipped it right up into the helicopter. And I got the shot, and I got the front cover of Fully Tapped. And I was like, boys, told yous.
No way. Oh, that was one of the craziest days of riding I've had. I loved it. I shit myself every jump.
Oh, that
at
was a bit
that
of a gnarly
place. It
little
was
spot, that one. It was a bit rocky. A few things were a bit sketchy there.
a bit rocky, man. There were rocks flying out of every dirt jump.
Oh,
Oh, like all I could taste was rocks, like from Adelberg and Sheeny, like just roosting you. Oh,
Levi
it was
Sherwood.
gnarly.
Levi Sherwood.
Yeah, Levi
So
was there. Yeah, exactly.
even he was doing the rev heads there. How come? So he had Levi, Sheeny, Adelberg, and Clinton Moore all at the same event, and then look where they
Yeah,
go on in their career. That's pretty cool. I think from memory, Levi and Adelberg both did their first flips off dirt at that little compound, that little riding spot.
really,
Yeah,
man.
I got a feeling.
Oh, yeah, it was on that step
A little
up.
step up.
That
Yeah. I think Levi might have popped it first, and then Robbie was like, son of a bitch. So he kind of had to roll and do it.
right on Sunset,
Mm,
he pulled the flip around. I remember that because then everyone was so pumped on that, and I went to go do another one of my 500 bum whips I'd done off of that jump for the day
yeah,
because Holtzy was like, come on, we need the sunset shot. And, that basically Holtzy didn't even wake up until the sun was about 1 degree from going down.
yeah.
And he's like, all right, now it's time for sunset shots. And a rock blew out of the top of the that dirt lip,
Mm,
and I couldn't even control the bike at all, and I landed sitting down on the landing kind of on an angle, and it just crunched my back up. I didn't break my back again, but it felt the same as when I
yeah,
broke it.
yeah,
I remember, I think you guys had to put the bike on the back of the ute so I could even drive back home that night to
mm,
Jason's place. So I remember that jump.
yeah,
That fucking hurt. That was bad. I think I didn't break my back. What's it called? Did something to the disc.
yeah,
Did something to the disc anyway. So
yeah.
yeah.
Times that was like grassroots events. You know what I mean? That was cool. And I've
I'm gonna have to go find all these videos now. I'm getting all
seen it a
excited.
little bit on
Like,
YouTube or something there. Yeah,
yeah, Holtzy would have put some Homegrown Maniacs TV show
yeah. I did a few little.
clips up on YouTube in maybe 320p, probably the least, like the shittest quality you can probably get, I think, because every time I look for
I think.
his videos on YouTube, it's just the quality that they were uploaded in, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah,
way back when,
yeah.
like in
I think
2010, 11,
Ash was
12,
there
whatever.
filming a few times as well. Because I think I got him to do a lot of the promo stuff.
Yeah.
Aussie adrenaline. Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, I loved it. And actually, and like you were saying before, I was just doubling back actually, because when it was Sheeny and Clinton and Levi and Adelberg and all those guys, they never came all at the same year. There was always like 2 or 3 of them would come every year.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of good because I was there as like just the young guy, the amateur, and they were the top dudes.
Straight off the milk farm, straight up
Mate,
the heads.
exactly. And I was quite happy picking up my 4th places and 5th places. It was always me and Rob Clohessy. Every year
Oh
we
yeah,
were
yeah,
battling
yeah,
there. That was always good. So we were always like in the hunt for 4th or 5th. Like
yeah.
that was our spots. Like,
Oh yeah,
get out of the way,
yeah,
We weren't going for flips. We were just going for the 4ths and 5ths. That was
yeah.
good.
I think I only rode.
So,
I only rode one event. I think I rode one comp. Can't remember
okay.
now. Yeah, one. I did one event there.
Rode one and ran the rest of them.
Yeah.
But,
I think it was just. I can't even remember that was the year. Robbie Adberg was there. I think Joel Brown. God, my memory's bad. Who else was there? Spud Spencer, was he there that year?
oh yeah, I remember Spud was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, whole bunch of dudes.
Mm,
That was the place to go. So you've run that, and it kind of got too much. Then it kind of all. I mean, freestyle was kind of it. You were done with freestyle. Then what happened after? What was it? 2012 Narragain was the last one, I think, or maybe it was 13. Whatever.
yeah.
Where did you go? What happened?
I went back home.
Did ya?
Back home, yeah. I was kind of like, I always knew I was going to get back into art. Art was my thing. I started off drawing these cartoons for these magazines, and then the freestyle thing came along, and then that just took over. But I always knew I was going to jump back into art, and then I just kind of thought, I'm done. I'm sick of living out of a suitcase. My head wasn't in the game anymore. I was kind of, my focus moved from writing to trying to help other writers with rev heads and giving them a platform so they can do their thing.
Thank you.
No worries. Yeah. And I'm happy. I'm proud of that. Like, I think a lot of those guys would have made it regardless, but it's nice to be able to sit back and go, well, we did our part to get them up there. And then, I went back up to, I didn't go to Carnarvon, I went to Geraldton, and I started a tattoo apprenticeship to get back into art. So then the tattoo journey started from then on out. So, yeah.
Gee, it just sounds like everyone, isn't it? Don't all those old freestylers get into tattoos like Metzger and all
There's a
that?
few there. I think Metzger's tattooing at his house. There's a few other. Kyle Loza, was he tattooing as well?
Maybe.
I think so.
Gary Hart.
Kerry, oh well, he's on the other end of it, but yeah, he's in the mix. I don't know, tattooing.
So you just got into it. You're like, right, I'm going to go do my apprenticeship, and that's my direction. That's where I'm going with my art.
Just like freestyle, all my focus just locked into this new drive to get into tattooing, and this new passion, and all focus was translated into that. And then away.
And how was it? Like, how was getting into tattoos? I'm guessing it's not an easy thing, right?
Yes and no. I think back in those days it was pretty raw to get into tattooing as well. Apprenticeships were hard to come by. I only got an apprenticeship because the guy who owned the studio, I met him a couple of years earlier at a Krusty event in Perth. It was at the after party or pre-party or something. And I was just telling him, I said, bro, when I'm done with when I'm done writing, I wouldn't mind getting the tattooing. And he goes, oh, I got this studio up that way. And I said, yeah, I know. And maybe I'll come up there. And he's like, if you ever want to go up there, just give the shop a call and you'll have an apprenticeship. And I said, oh, okay, no worries. So years later, I'm kind of sitting at home thinking, I'm done with writing. Wouldn't mind getting in this tattoo game. I'm just gonna do it. So I just rang the studio and said, hey, how you doing? It's Fungi here. And like, yeah, we know when you're starting. I was like, what? Really? That easy? He goes, yeah, when you're starting. I was like, oh, give me next week. He goes, yeah, come up. So I came up there and started my tattoo apprenticeship, and then from there moved back to Perth, and been tattooing in Perth ever since, really. So
because it was kind of a big thing back then, like when you got into tattooing, kind of like freestyle, right?
Yeah, I felt like I rode the wave. Like I rode the wave in freestyle where it just kind of blew up out of nowhere and it's got popular, and then that was cruising. And then as that kind of, I wouldn't say it's tapered, it was tapering off slightly.
Wow.
Well, let's be honest, it's dying. And and then tattooing was doing the same. It was kind of like picking up, like everyone was watching the TV shows and things like that. So then I kind of like jumped on that, and I was kind of like at the end of the wave, but still it was on the rise. And then I kind of, it was, man, tattooing and freestyle motocross are so similar in a lot of ways, and I just applied myself in the same, and just progressed and moved my art forward, and a little bit more hindsight because I've done the freestyle stuff and I learnt a lot when you're young and the mistakes that you made, and to take a chance to have a new career and have a new passion and then to be able to ride that wave again as a second time. It's so cool to do that. And have.
Did you appreciate this more then because you I guess you went up with freestyle, you started coming down, you lost interest in it, and then you were lucky enough to grab another thing that you're passionate about and catch that wave? Like, did you actually appreciate it more the second time?
Yeah, definitely. I see other artists and how they come up and what they do, and I'm like, I don't know, I've just got a different mindset, and the way I look at tattooing and how to get the best out of tattooing. I think a lot of artists, they remind me of kids doing freestyle motocross, and they're not thinking of it
really
the same way. Yeah, they're kind of like just all guns blazing and making bad decisions. And even with yourself, you look back at your career. When you're young, you do certain things. And you kind of like, in hindsight, if you
I was a good boy. I did everything.
Yeah. If you can go back, you'd change a few things and tweak a few things, and there was no one. There was no one in our ears back then. You know what I mean? Like, I think the new generation of FMX guys, they've got people on their shoulder who can tell them things. Where back then we were just raw, and it was a learning experience the entire way. And now with tattooing, I've got that hindsight, and then I make decisions in my tattooing career, and I'm confident where I'm going, and it's I'm in for a long career. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I guess it didn't start out that easy back then. I heard you had a couple little troubles. We don't have to talk too much about it, but you had one place was burnt down, right?
Yeah. The first year I had was so me and another guy had this shop. I think it was there for 3 months, and then it got firebombed and burnt down. And then welcome to the Wild West.
Far out.
But that's tattooing, and
That's tattooing. Yeah, no
has
worries.
its own problems. But everything, yeah. I know we move on from that. It was a few years ago now, and then now, yeah, you go from shop to shop, build yourself up, progress. It's kind of like I always looked at tattooing like writing. You do your homework at the compound, then you go away and you step it up when you need to step it up. And I did the same with tattooing. I do it in blocks where I'd just work for like a couple of weeks. That was my competition. Then I'd go home for a week, and then I'd do my
Really?
homework. Yeah, and that's how I do my homework at home, and then back to the next gig, and then progress and move forward. Kind of how you do it with writing. You do your homework at home, and then you go away and you do an event, and you step it up, and then you go back home and you do your homework again. So I think that really helped me with tattooing, because I felt my progression rate was so much quicker than other artists. Just to be able to like concentrate on working out techniques and how to do things and study things and how to, progress quickly rather than make those mistakes. Like same as writing, you didn't know back then, but now you know what I mean? You know how to pick things up. You know where to put your toes and where to put your head and how to, put your body weight and things like that. But in the early days, you didn't know that. You just kind of like practicing at your compound, and you ride and try and do this jump 10 times. You're like, I can't figure it out. Give me a look at the video footage. Oh, my head's in the wrong spot. Oh, okay, go again.
Yeah.
So
No, I just thought my whips were huge, and then I saw the video. I went, no, that was shit.
No. Balls, Steve. Balls.
I'd look back and Rachel's like, nah, that was shit. I'm like, come on, no way. Like that was upside down. And then you look at
Have
the
you
video,
ever experienced a good whip? Have you got one upside down like you've really been proud of?
mate, the last 1 or 2 years, when I was riding, like 2016 and 17, I finally banged out some good ones.
Nothing
Like I was
better.
actually pumped.
Nothing better
Yeah,
than just getting it up, like just getting up under it, and just.
No, but before that, like I said, even when we were at that special compound in Bunbury, I felt unbelievable until I saw the video. I was like, man, I'm killing it out here. Nah, they were bum whips. But I'm guessing, yeah, like you said, you have that in tattoo and in technique and stuff like that. But so I don't know, like you're that's your art. You're always into art. There's plenty of paperwork, I'm guessing, that goes along with this sort of stuff, because you're traveling now interstate. Like you're not just in WA.
No,
Right?
see, I do it exactly the same as writing. You build your brand, you become that writer, then you seek out the next shows. You know what I mean? Like you're aiming for those larger checks, I suppose you could say, those more prestigious events. The only difference with this is I get to choose where I want to go. Not at the moment. We're stuck with trouble, but with writing, your options or whatever the promoter, whoever's calling you. But with this, I kind of like get to choose where I want to go. So it's great, and it's safer. I don't have to go and worry about being rained out.
You don't have to
borrowing bikes or stuff like that. So.
Don't have to worry about opening up the door and the sun's hit you in the face and you got to go chuck your gear on and do a show.
Oh, I can't.
Can you?
I can't tattoo.
Can you do that?
I can't tattoo buckle. That is.
Listen to it. You can jump 75 feet buckled, but you can't tattoo buckle.
Yeah, but you get that rush. You get there and you start your bike and it's all happening. The crowd's there and you're on. You're buzzing. But tattooing, that's the one thing that's different. It's writing is like these quick highs. You know what I mean? Like you do a show and it's up and you're stoked. Where when you're tattooing, it's a long burn. I'm doing a tattoo for 8 hours, 10 hours for the day. I get an enjoyment out of it. It's a buzz, but it's not that rush. It's like a slow burn, and then that's at a satisfaction at the end. You're satisfied with the end result. Yeah. No rushes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right, not doing that one. Buckled bugger. Okay. How is the tattoo industry now then? Like, is it kind of the same as freestyle? Like, is it coming down, or is it still cruising along nicely? Is it still growing? How is it?
It's definitely pumping, like without a doubt. It's pumping, and I think it's gonna pump for a few years yet. The thing about tattooing is just like it's so many avenues. It's like branching out. Like it's kind of like freestyle. Like we all jumped 75 feet, and then suddenly someone put a 120 in, and then put a moon booter in, and then put a wall ride in, and then the vert ramp, and then different avenues. And then certain riders will just do one thing only. I'm just going to do the whip. I'm just a whip guy. And tattooing's similar. Like at the beginning, everyone did like different styles, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 different styles, and that's kind of where it was. And then now it's branched out, and now there's guys that, like myself, we just do realism. I'm not doing anything else but realism. And then there's artists that just do black work, or art being art. They just taken it to, some people just do a squiggly line, or I'm just using the color brown or something. They're just going down these very specific little individual products that they create with their tattooing, and that's very similar with how the writing thing was. It's gonna go for a while. Tattooing ain't gonna go nowhere. There's people turning 18 every year, so there's fresh skin every year. And I think naturally people just want to decorate their body. It's just a natural instinct for people to cover themselves in tattoos and some kind of artwork in some kind of form. And I can't see tattooing going anywhere anytime soon, for sure.
No, me either. So right now, we're doing this podcast interview, and you went out and bought yourself a microphone for it. And I was like, whoa, easy up. You don't need to go too crazy. But there was a second reason why you did that. Buying a microphone so you can actually, I guess, join the 2020s. Hopefully not. Maybe 2021. Let's forget this year.
This year's pumping. I don't know about everyone else, but Perth, we are busy as hell. I am getting so many inquiries that it's crazy. So nothing's changed over here.
That's good. But so you want to get into, I guess you need to contact people outside of WA because you can't travel anywhere right now.
Yeah, I got a lot of clients either interstate or far away. So doing online consults, I suppose. I got the microphone to get into 2021 and save me having to do the email trail as much. We'll see how it goes. I feel very weird talking into this microphone. This is all a bit new to me. Isn't it funny how
sounds great,
isn't it funny how like you used to do something so natural all the time? I'd always do the radio stuff and things like that. I used to love it. Get on the radio, be funny, crack a heap of jokes. And now I'm like, a bit awkward talking. I kind of lost it all.
Been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a long time.
Do you still have a bike?
Man, I literally sold it maybe 2 months ago.
Did you?
Yeah, I had a YZ sitting in my shed and I just sat there the whole time. And I think I never even started it for like a year. I just sat there and I was like, I'm going to get rid of this thing. Like I might just bail it. So, I sold it not long ago. I got a little 50 sitting in there. But I'll probably get rid of that at some point too. I don't know. The fire don't burn to jump on a dirt bike. I got another passion. I'm lucky I got another passion. I think a lot of riders are finishing up their careers and don't have another passion. They're a little bit lost. They don't know where they're going to go.
I know that feeling.
So they probably go into doing podcasts or things like that. I don't know.
Yeah, funny how that happens, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've still got 2 bikes sitting downstairs. Yeah. I was so pumped when I first time ever I got 2 bikes over here in Europe, and it's a real job.
Yeah.
And I've got 2. One was for the track, one's for freestyle, and of course they're both completely set up differently. Yeah. And they still sit there doing sweet fuck all, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. So it's a nice little reminder every time I walk downstairs shit, what am I going to do?
I know. Because imagine if you're like, I'm hearing guys like they finished up this, they're coming to the point now, they're getting into their late 30s, like, okay, the shows are finishing up. The money's not there anymore, and then they're kind of like at a point where, well, I've got no trade. I've just been riding dirt bikes for the last 15 years. Well, what's next for them? Unless you can kind of find some industry job or something. But even then, what's going on in the industry? It's pretty dead.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem. I think 2020, like right now, I always wanted these podcasts to be pretty evergreen, not talk about too much in the right now, but it doesn't really matter because right now is a giant pile of shit. And and I think I'd say everyone who's in any action sports is realizing what's right now. They're getting a glimpse into the future
Definitely.
of when they're done.
The trend's gone. You know what I mean? Like that action sport trend. Look at the kids now. When we were kids, we're into it. You look at the kids now, they're not into it. They're probably more into getting a scooter and going to the skate park or eating healthy or being a vegan or doing some kind of, physical thing, but they're not into this thing. It's they're past that. It's moved. You know what I mean?
That's it, and it's a different way. Everything's just kind of different, and I think right now this is a bit of a glimpse for the guys. Like, what's the future hold? Like, once they're done, let's say for freestyle, what are you going to do when you're finished riding freestyle? That's a scary thought for anybody. Whether it comes when you think it's going to come, as retirement, or if it comes earlier, or whatever it might be, and I don't really like banging on about it too much.
No,
it's something that I think about more. Like right now,
and the worst thing about
everyone's getting a bit of a taste.
The worst thing about the sport is people can't buy into the sport. You know what I mean? It's too expensive. You know, for parents to get their young kids into motocross and go buy a 4-stroke, it's too damn expensive. You can't. With surfing, you can buy into it. You can buy the t-shirt, you can buy the surfboard, and you can go and find a wave and surf it. But with freestyle motocross, you got to buy a motorcycle. You got to have some land. You got to be able to ride somewhere, and then you can't buy into it unless you're in the sport. You're not really buying the products. You know what I mean? Like you're not wearing Air Steve Summerfields because you're like, you know what I mean? Like it's you can't buy into the sport. It's too expensive. I think I suppose that's why Red Bull kind of did the FMX because they were trying to sell energy drinks. That's how you buy into the sport, by buying the drink. But man, you can put Red Bull on anything these days.
Yeah, exactly. Esports.
That's
the way to go, mate.
Kids are going to go buy a scooter and things way cheaper and go to a skate park.
Well, that's the thing, and cool thing is like governments are throwing plenty of money at BMX parks and scooter parks and whatever else in metro areas.
Yeah,
so it's kind of easy to get into that, and it's cheap. Like anyone can do it. So that'll keep going. Definitely moto's hard.
Moto's hard. I see a little bit of a revival with everyone's buying these 110s because they're a little bit cheaper. You know what I mean? You can go and have fun on a 110. But to buy a full time, like what's a 450? You know, it's cost a bit of money now. Unless some e-bike that's a bit cheaper, and then people can get into not freestyle as we see it now, but like a different version on an e-bike. Maybe that could be something in the future that puts a bit of
Well, that's the thing. Like when you were saying before, like you got to buy the bike, then you've got to have the land to ride the bike on. My next thought after that was you can have land to ride a bike on, but if your neighbor bitches and moans because they can hear a 2-stroke, you're done. Like even if you've got the land. So electric, that's where an electric bike for me makes total sense. Like that could bring it back.
For sure. I mean, look at wakeboarding. You know, if you want to be a dope wakeboarder, well, can you afford a boat? Do you have access to a lake?
Exactly.
I mean,
I love wakeboarding. Of course, the two sports I love doing are bloody expensive sports to do.
Yeah, you can buy a wakeboard and sign up to your ski park and go there. But freestyle motocross, you can't do that. You can't sign up to a local freestyle park and just start jumping ramps. That's not, the insurance isn't there for it. No one's gonna do that. It's not as accessible and as cheap as it needs to be.
Exactly. So I think I think you've answered the future of freestyle in that. That was well and truly covered there.
Look,
What?
hopefully someone will come up with some dope e-bike and the bars spin around and the suspension's dope and you can pay for the damn thing. And I don't know, maybe you can have these courses on airbags. I don't know, something, but something's got to give. I think the wave isn't. Oh, it's crashing. It's crashing, Steve.
Mate, I know about crashing. Crashing hurts, whether it's the industry or yourself. And I guess that's the problem, the risk versus reward.
Yeah. Even how do you guys going with the events? Like, are you still getting numbers through the door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah. Like,
and even the crowd changed. Like, like back in the day, you go to a nitro and everyone's like, those between 18 to 35, and they're just going there to watch the nitro and FMX, or the crusty days especially, where now you go to those events and it's mum, dad, because little Tommy, who's 10 years old, rides a scooter, wants to go and check out the show.
Something.
Yeah, something.
It's almost like Saturday night.
Jumpy wheelie,
what's on?
Esky or something. That's there.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Like, what's on Saturday night? Oh, yeah. If it's freestyle, sweet, we'll turn up to that. If it's anything else, yeah, we'll go watch it. It'll still be there, but how do you get the risk versus reward and keep it going? That's the tough thing, especially how, like, we've had some young guys coming through, and some have passed on, unfortunately.
Yeah,
like you said, with Tyrone Jilks, who was over at WA.
Yeah, well, that was that all played out just after Revhead, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's gnarly, and he could have been. Well, who knows where he could have been right now?
He'd been right in the mix, without a doubt.
Was he one of the guys, like, when he came to Revhez, you would have just been like, man, this is gonna be cool?
We all heard whispers of Tyrone. That's why I was really keen to get him over. You know what I mean? And then he didn't. He didn't disappoint. He stepped it up and showed the athlete that he was. And it's just an absolute shame how things ended. But he had all the talent in the world, for sure.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Actually, the last time I rode with him, I broke my ankle. I was riding at Cam Hermanson's place, about an hour up the road on the sunny coast.
Yeah.
And we were just, I don't even know what we were doing. We're just dicking around, like, just trying to come up with the stupidest tricks, and I think we were going for 5 or 6 pendulums, and just being dumb.
Yeah.
And
was he doing the Captain Morgan? Was that him?
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember why, but anyway, I ended up in the back of the landing and broke my ankle again. And it was Tyrone and Cam picking me up, and they put me in the driver's seat of my van, and I drove home, and that was it. So that was the last time riding with him, and it was just fun. Like, I just remember it, just awesome day. Like, it was one of the best days until I crashed. But like, I even as I was driving out of there, I was like, oh, that was a cool day. I didn't know I was broken. I knew it was sore.
Yeah.
I just rang Rach, and I'm like, oh, you better make a sandwich and get my laptop ready. So I'll come home first. We'll have a bit of lunch, and then we'll go to the hospital. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Man.
But I remember he was just a happy dude.
I remember when I shattered my heel, I thought I didn't even know I broke it. Like, I remember I just stomped the lander, and I was at this competition, stomped the lander. All good. You do it all the time. You know what I mean? Put my foot back on the pegs, turned around, went to go to the next one, got on the pegs. Oh, no, I'm not feeling too good. So I stopped, called the ambulance over, or the paramedics, and then, take the boot off. And I was like, oh, I think it's just sprained. It's all good. And then I remember going, oh, well, I won't ride. I'll just get drunk, as I would normally do. And I just partied up the whole night. And then when I finally got back to Perth, I went to the specialist, get my scans, and they're like, yeah, she's not sprained, Jeremy. It's shattered. You have shattered your heel. Oh. I was like, really? I was like, oh, son of a bitch. How do you not know these things?
That's impressive. Not just a break, but shattered. That's good.
Yeah. Gone.
risk versus reward, but you still had fun, I'm guessing. So, Revheads 2.0, what do you reckon? I mean, you're saying you're not too interested at the moment, but is there a chance you're going to come back and
Would I
revive
do it
the
again?
glory days?
Oh, dude.
Do it all again?
If you can hook,
Would you do it again knowing what you know?
I tell you what, if you can hook me up with someone who's got some deep pockets, yeah, maybe I might look into it. But I think it's too hard now. It served its purpose when it did its thing. I was proud of it. We did well, but that time's gone, and I think I don't know. I don't think I'd do it again unless someone showed up and said, "Hey, Bryce, check out these check check out my wallet, go for it." But no one's doing that these days. No one's got that budget. It's all over.
Even in WA, the
Here we go.
mining capital of
The
Australia.
mining call. Man, I don't even think the sport, as crazy and as popular as it was in this state, it's not what it was now. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
So where to here from here? Sorry for
For me,
Jeremy Furniss, not Fungi, but Jeremy Furniss.
dude, just gonna keep pushing the tattoo game. Yeah, I'm happy where my tattooing is. I like where my progress is. I love it. I'm hungry. Uh, I can live this life for many years. There's no I'm not going to go to a convention and snap some stuff and then be off the machines for a while. Like, it's not that game. I can tattoo for many years. I'm fit. I'm healthy. I can sit and tattoo long hours for years to come. So I'm just going to push the tattoo thing for a while. See how that goes, and then I don't know. Maybe one day I might flick a switch and jump into something else. Who knows?
Sounds good. Oh, actually, just a quick one.
Yeah.
Did you get any tattoos like with any of the riding boys?
Have I got
did you
any?
tattoo any of some big?
Have I? Oh man, I did my first tattoos. I was pretty raw, and I got a con Robbie Atterberg into getting a couple when I was very raw. So thanks, Rob, for the practice.
Bobby Dazzler.
Yeah. So I got a couple of early ones there, and I've tattooed him. I think I tattooed him at a Sydney convention. I think it might have been, or Brisbane, one of the two. Who else have I done? I done a few like football stars and rugby stars and.
Not interested.
Yeah,
there, mate.
they got they're pussies anyway. I can't remember who else. I feel like a couple of local lads and things like that. Yeah, a few riders out there, but nothing crazy.
Do you remember what you put on Bobby?
Oh, man, I can't remember now. I know I've done a girl's face on his leg, and it's really hard tattooing Robbie because we just talk, and like rather than me just concentrating, we're just having yarns the whole way through. So I'm kind of like, what would take me 6 hours would take me 8 hours because we chat too much. So man, I can't remember my first. Oh no, I did a rose. He was in town for, might have been a nitro, and we tattooed him. Did this rose. It's terrible. And then I think he's got it covered since then. And then he went and rode nitro maybe a day after or something. He put his boots on and it didn't heal too well anyway. So yeah.
No.
Oh man, the first couple of years they're pretty terrible, aren't they? You don't know. You know what I mean? You think you're kicking goals, but really you're like, you're learning. They're pretty raw.
Yeah. I'm just starting to think now. When I did a show in Indonesia,
Oh yeah,
and who was it? It was Lewis Woods.
yeah.
And we were over there, and I remember Clinton and I were just waiting. Like, we went to some tattoo place in the middle of Yogyakarta.
And say that backward 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember we were just sitting there waiting until like midnight, probably a fair bit after midnight. And Clinton and I were just like, fuck, we just want to go to the hotel and go to bed. And Louis in there, and after probably 3-4 hours went in, and I'm like, oh, cool. Oh, what's that mean? And he's like, oh, life is a fantasy. I'm like, no, that's not what it says. And he's like, what? You know, and everyone stops and looks at it, and I'm like, oh, well, you spelled it wrong. I'm like, no, I didn't. Well, it's got an SY, not a CY on fantasy. And they were finished. Like, they were done.
Yeah.
So I probably should have been in there, let's say, an hour or two earlier. Probably would have been helpful. But
Oh, bro, I suck.
any of those problems, mate?
I don't do any writing, like no writing. I
No.
suck at it so bad. Yeah, I'm terrible. I can't spell. I'm illiterate. I did this boxer dude,
Oh,
and I can't remember what he wrote on him. Maybe he wrote honor or something like that, or something on his chest, full chest. And he put it in, wrote it on, like got the stencil on. He checked out in the mirror, all good, yeah, all good. Then he wanted to make a change. I can't remember what he wanted to do, but we had to like redo it on the go. And then that was all cool. Off he went. And then he's at the gym with his shirt off, as you are when you're a boxer. And one of the other guys goes, "Mate, your tattoo's spelt wrong." He's like, "Really?" I didn't miss a letter. I put an extra letter in there. Oh my god!
do that?
I don't know,
Yeah.
dude. I don't do spelling. And then he came back, and I'm like, "Oh, son of a bitch!" So again, raw in my tattooing days, and these days, no writing. Like I just do my product, and that's it. If you want anything else, don't see me. I've got enough clientele. I don't need to do anything else. So I'm happy. But man, for writing, not my.
Leave the illiterate guy out of the writing and stencil.
Yeah, I'm good at drawing pictures, not writing anything.
So what is the business? How do they find you?
Oh, well, in today's society, social media. Instagram, Jeremy Furniss, so _Furniss. If you want to hunt me up and check out my work. I'm hoping to get back over to Europe once COVID's done, but who knows when that's going to be. I was supposed to be in London right now, actually, and that COVID
could have almost done the interview there.
we could have done it face to face. I think last time I was over in Europe, I hit you up, but you were driving somewhere.
Oh, that's right. I think that was when I was heading down to Greece.
Yeah. I was heading north. I was going up to Scandinavia, and you were going down.
I was on my rehab tour, possibly leaving Europe tour at that time. That was learning how to walk again, and I was like, fuck this, I'm going to Greece, go get warm, and I remember that. I remember you coming over there.
Yeah.
But so you're traveling all over the world, basically.
Yeah, I guess so. Not now with COVID, but I was traveling heaps there for a while. I think I did 1 year where I did 11 conventions in a year, plus a whole bunch of guest spots. And it just got a little bit too much. I was back to traveling. I felt like I was riding FMX again. I was just constantly like flying in, flying out, flying in, flying out. So I took a break. And then I had a bit of a tour lined up this year where I was supposed to be in London at the moment, but obviously COVID. So once the world's back to normal, I shall work out a bit of a game plan and then get back on the road and do some traveling again. I really enjoy doing the conventions. Not so much the Aussie ones, but the international ones are really cool. It's a bit of a buzz. So yeah.
Get flying around the world and doing some tattoos and doing whatever you want, really. You're your own boss. So
I get to choose where I want to go. I get to choose my own accommodation, and I
don't have to jump on.
Don't have to worry about borrowing
dog
bikes and bad setups and all the rest of it. I don't have to ring a promoter 50 times when I get home and be like, bros, are you going to put that money through?
That's one thing I don't miss from not riding freestyle. That was probably the worst part.
Yeah.
I was like, am I ever going to get paid for that? Or nah.
That's the game, isn't it, hey? Yeah, that's crazy. And we've all done shows where we didn't get paid or we got half of it or things like that. And you're like, well, what do you do? It's the game.
Turn back up next time and hope you get double.
Yeah.
No, I've been there. No, man, thank you so much for taking the time. It was awesome to chat with you again. It's been so bloody long.
It's been a while, Steve. It's nice to hear your voice again. You've been very sexy on this podcast. You got that podcast voice down pat.
I've had to change. I've had to change how I talk. I wouldn't say it's sexy. No, I've had to really get rid of the Ocker Aussie.
Yeah, I probably.
It probably doesn't sound like it now. Maybe after talking with you for an hour and a half or 2 hours, I'm probably starting to sound a bit more Aussie again.
I reckon you'll finish up with this, go back into the kitchen and be like, "Oi, where's me dinner?" something like that. You know? And your misso be like,
Come on,
misso
darling.
be looking at you like, what the fuck, Steve? What have you changed? You've gone back to the dairy farmer, Steve. I don't like it.
Exactly. Well, I had to get rid of it. Like over here, nobody understood a word I was saying. So over the years, I've had to get a lot clearer. Yeah, it sucks. I remember when I went back home, it must be 2 years ago now, everyone knew straight away, like, oh, you've been away for a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it happens. In a way, I tried not to, but in another way, I had to. I just had to change how I was talking. So, that's it. But no, it's good to chat, and hopefully next time you're in Europe, we'll have to catch up and do an actual interview in person next time.
Yeah, I'm surprised you wanted to interview me. So yeah, cool bananas.
Why not? Hey, like we said, Revhead's kicked off a lot of careers, or at least really springboarded them, and it definitely helped me.
Yeah.
Revheads was probably the best thing I ever could have done. It cost me every time. Maybe I came out even, except for the 1 year I got third. I was like, holy hell, that was a good little paycheck for picking up a little third place. So thank you very much for organising that prize money for me, mate. Went home, I had a big smile on my face.
Yeah. You get the big check. Do we have one of those for you that year?
No, that was the year you didn't have a big check.
No way.
So I still don't have a single novelty check.
I came out my cupboard the other day and found mine from Revheads. I got one sitting in.
Mate, my mum's still at the same address. Just send it to her. I'll take it.
I'll scrub a name out, put yours in there, and I'll flick it over.
That'd be fantastic if you could. I still don't have one, so I'd love one. Yeah, awesome, man. Nah, all good. All right, mate. We'll catch you later.
See you, buddy.
We actually recorded this interview a couple of weeks ago, and Mum still hasn't texted to say the novelty check arrived. So, Fungi, if you can double check that address, that would be great, mate. If you want to check out Fungi's pages, simply look in the show notes to go straight to his Instagram or the website to see his style of tattoos. And if you're keen, hit him up. I know Fungi is a busy man, and I want to thank him again for joining me on this chat, and also for letting me borrow his bike to ride all of those events over in WA. Also, don't forget to check out the Riders Lounge podcast Instagram on Friday, October 30th, 2020. Since these are designed as evergreen episodes, I thought I should clarify it's 2020. So if you're listening in 21 or 22, this is done. There'll probably be something even bigger and better by then. I'll put up details on how you can be one of the lucky winners to win the birthday surprise from Rothaus with a Tannenzapfler surprise pack for a few lucky listeners and followers of this podcast. If you haven't already taste tested a Tannenzapfler, do yourself a favor and grab a 6-pack from your local shop. Depending on what country you're in, it might be in the specialty or the international beer section. So thank you again to the great people from Rothaus in the Black Forest region of Germany for celebrating with me and giving something back to you guys, the listeners of this podcast. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in every week or every 2 weeks, and I hope you find it enjoyable enough to keep coming back. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Riders Lounge podcast.